Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. That was Christmas 2019. Joshua Bardwell came down to hang out, and that was a spot very, very local to me, like right across the street. That slot is really small. Like that with 5-inch rigs, right? Like that slot is probably maybe only about this wide. Super challenging to stay in that and not smack into the concrete and or those metal wires. But one hell of a challenge. I used to I didn't fly that spot super often because they had security and they would kick you out. But that was probably maybe like the third or fourth time that I'd flown that. And I just started to get like kind of acceptable in that. It's really like being able to hang out in that little slot. That's what it's just all about. It's very similar to flying tiny whoops inside, actually. It's what's your deal? It's all about leveling the horizon. What? What's happening? What's wrong, little buddy? Okay. That's weird. What? It's supposed to be that color, right? Yeah, it's all about absolutely getting the horizon dead level. If you're off by a couple of degrees, you're just gonna have this little bit of a slide, and as you're like coming down and then going back up, that's gonna build up and it's gonna smash you into the concrete. So either you're going to, every time you come down into it, you're gonna be bouncing back and forth, or if you want to be smooth, you really have to focus on getting the horizon absolutely dead level. So yeah, if you guys are flying at a location where you're very, and just with tiny whooping, it's something that I talk about all the time. Yeah, any situations where you're trying to shoot through things, vertical, precipices. Anytime you're trying to shoot small gaps left to right, small left to right, not small top to bottom, it's super important. It's super important to really get good at. And tiny whooping in the house is something that will make you get good at that because, doorways are pretty small, all things considered. Try to shoot a doorway with a 5-inch rig. It's so difficult. It will like completely open your eyes to how small doorways actually are. And actually, try to shoot a doorway with any rig that doesn't have guards on it that's not hideously lightweight. The prop guards and the weight of tiny whoops are a big part of the reason that we can shoot such small little gaps with them. So yeah, there you go. Welcome to Sunday Q&A. Today, I was on Facebook, unfortunately, a little bit ago, and there was somebody posted a picture of a build in the Meteor 65 airframe. Where are all the broken airframes? Nope, that's not one. Where are the broken airframes? I know I saved at least one of them. There it is. Picture of a build in a Meteor 65 airframe, and the little arrow was pointing to the rear of the build, and there were like 40 some comments. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it does matter. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, it does matter. With no information whatsoever. Not one single person said it doesn't matter because. Not one comment had any actual bit of information or justification for the person's opinions. And that, my friend, is Facebook. And that is why you do not get any info that matters at all from Facebook. It is just the worst possible place to get any factual info from, any correct info either. So yeah, I'm here to fix that shit. I posted a link to this live stream in that in those Facebook comments. I'm sure nobody will click on it. But yeah, we are going to go. This is something that I've been talking about for literally years. But I realized that some frames actually don't have a front and a rear. Most do, and it's unbelievably easy to tell whether or not the frame that you've got has a front and a rear, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. I'm going to give you, those of you that don't want to stick around the whole time, I'm going to tell you how to do it in a couple of minutes here. I just want to get a couple of things out of the way first, as we always do, and then we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper. But yeah, first and foremost, I got to get caught up on chat, because otherwise I'll get so behind that I won't be able to get caught up, and that stinks. Flush FPV was first, Newt McFly was second, Expander, David 4F, Joe Filmt. Joe, you're going to have to tell me how to pronounce your last name tomorrow. Bob Bruce, Chuck Feltnick, Northern Tier, Lucky, Apache Smoke, Wounded Sniper, Frank Nicholas, Bob Bruce, VOV4P, Chick with Stick, Troy Prelog, Matt Norton, Feigning Goat, Scott FPV, Matt ORC FPV, Ramdonko, Hendrix Freakazoid, Rework FPV, Traffics AU. Is that Traffics Australia? Is that what that should be? YouTube did the thing, trying to find where I was. Not really sure where I was. Thanks, YouTube, you jerks. Freelojo, Tongue Out FPV, Walter Van... I'm just going to say Walter. Blind Pyro, 661, V Pro, Veritas Weasel, Prop Junkie, Brad Mondin, CMYK FPV, Brent Anderson, Zero Taste, V Pro, Daniel, 1964, and Shredder 0911. What's up, everybody? Thanks for coming. If I missed you, sucks to be you. It doesn't matter. I'm just a stranger. Whether or not I say your name has no bearing on your life. It does? Oh, that's nice of you to say. Thanks. Your guess is as good as mine. This is my full-time job, believe it or not. If you'd like to support the madness that is trying to be a full-time FPV donkey, head on over to CiottiFPV.com, and there's a million ways that you can support me. Here's my stream schedule right here. Patreon, as it says, helps me out the most. You can join Patreon for as little as $3 a month, which is 7.5 cents per hour of live streams that I do. There's an Etsy store where you can buy yourself something nice. Also a Teespring store where you can do the same. You can work with me through Fiverr, or just message me and we'll schedule it. PayPal if you want to support me directly, but you don't want to do a super chat where YouTube takes 30%, and then a whole bunch of affiliate links. If you're doing an order on the internet in 2024, someone has an affiliate link, someone that creates YouTube content that you might or might not enjoy. Help those folks out. Try to find an affiliate link before you check out, and we get free money, and it doesn't affect you in any way whatsoever. Some brilliant folks have replaced their bookmarks for these websites with those of us that have affiliate links. So then you don't even have to think about it. I have affiliate links for We Bleed FPV, Newbie Drone, FPV Cycle, Amazon.com. That's right, Amazon, yo. Every single time you buy something on Amazon, you can hit another content creator's affiliate link and feel better about yourself, because you're literally helping them and paying for their children to eat food and not die. Wouldn't it feel good to save a child's life every time you buy something on Amazon? Hit my affiliate link. There are 2 of them that live in this house with me. They eat everything. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. I eat a lot. I have a crazy metabolism. I eat a shitload of food. They eat twice as much food as me. It's madness. But they're growing. They're literally getting taller. It's wild. I haven't gotten taller in a long time. That's what she said. Get FPV, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HD0, Flywoo, Emacs, Banggood, Camera Butter, AliExpress. Look at all them affiliate links. Does a Tiny Whoop frame have a front and a back? Yes. Most of them do. And there's a dog. True Prelag says, I do it to support Teddy. There's a dog. He's got a bad haircut. It's growing back. Help the dog grow his hair back so that he doesn't look like such an idiot. He doesn't look like an idiot. He looks like an angry German right now. He looks like just an upset, angry, eyebrowed fucking German. He's a schnauzer. That's where the German thing comes from. I don't think that all Germans are angry. I definitely don't think that. Shredder says 9. In the chat, if you want to talk directly to me, all you've got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do it and you spell it right and don't put a space in between Ciotti and FPV, it'll light up an orange and I'll read your chat comment. You can put an @ as well, but you don't have to. Barbru says, quick, how everyone doing today? Apache Smoke Decipher says, yo, how's everybody doing on this cold Sunday? It is cold here in Atlanta. It's been cold here for a few days. Chuck Feltnick says, made my first real ultimate freestyle tiny whoop. Quick yaw moves make it hop or give more throttle boosts than any of my other whoops, even at 0 throttle. Quick yaw will shoot up. Is that something I can tune out? Great question, Chuck. That is a symptom of... It's kind of a good thing. That means that you've got a powertrain. Powertrain being battery, motors, propellers, and an all-up weight that, first and foremost, the powertrain is able to provide very low, very quick response times. You get the same effect on a regular rig, on an average rig, let's say, where when you crank the yaw P gain way the hell up. Basically what's happening is when you push yaw in, so in order for this thing to rotate like this, right, there's no propeller that does that. There's not like a vertical propeller on the back here that can spin up to make this thing rotate, right? We've got props in all 4 corners, and they directly push thrust to make it pitch and roll. But yaw is different. Yaw requires 2 of the motors. So the 2 of the motors are going clockwise, 2 are going counterclock. So when you command yaw, 2 of the motors brake and the other 2 motors accelerate. If you've got a powertrain that has really quick response time, or if you've got a regular powertrain and you take your P gains and your yaw P gains and crank them way the hell up, what both of those things are doing is they are allowing this rig, as soon as you tell it that you want yaw, you are allowing it to, in one case, the mechanical system, the powertrain, is doing this. In the other case, the PID gains, the P gains, are doing this to very, very, very quickly spin up 2 of the motors. And then the braking force is the braking force. The 2 of the motors are going to break down at the same rate. Actually, that's not true. The weight of the propellers and the weight of the motor bells will allow that braking to happen even quicker. But if you've got a powerful powertrain and or you've got the yaw P gains cranked up, it's going to really quickly accelerate the 2 motors that are needing to accelerate to generate this rotational force. And in very quickly accelerating those, it's going to create more thrust than the braking force is going to... I mean, it doesn't create negative thrust, but when the 2 motors break down, if the other 2 didn't ramp up, it would drop a little bit because it's, gravity, right? But yeah, that's what's happening. The 2 motors that create thrust are really quickly accelerating, and that's creating a net positive amount of thrust, right? The 2 motors that are braking are pulling it down, but then the other 2 motors are creating more thrust than the braking that's than the lack of thrust being created by the other 2, and that's making it jump up. So you can, if you don't like that behavior, so let's talk about the good side of that behavior, right? Like, you're noticing the bad side of that behavior, which is that the quad gains a little bit of altitude. The good part of that behavior is that you are getting a very snappy yaw response. So the current situation that you've got, you are getting a quicker amount of yaw response than, like, this is the only way, having that burst of elevation is the only way for you to get as quick of a yaw response as you currently have. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. So you can either go to a worse powertrain, don't do that, or you can lower your P gains on yaw only. By default, the yaw P gains are wrapped up in the sliders, but there is a way to break that link, and if I try to explain where it is, it's going to be a nightmare. So I'm going to fire up Betaflight real quick, and show you where that is. So you come in here to the PID tab, and it is right here, the mode. By default, the mode is set to RPY, roll, pitch, yaw. So it grays all of these out because they are all being controlled by the sliders. And if you'll notice, there is no slider that specifically singles out yaw. Yaw always gets wrapped in to roll and pitch. We do have sliders here, the pitch damping and the pitch tracking, which allow you to individually control the pitch, but we don't have any sliders that will allow you to specifically control yaw. So what you can very easily do is look at what your yaw P gain is and what your yaw I gain is. Take this mode to roll pitch, and you'll see the yaw values are now not grayed out, and they are changeable. And what you would want to do to fix that behavior is turn down your yaw P gains. And turn them down like 5 points at a time. Go fly it, see if the behavior is better. Turn it down 5 more points, see where it's at. What you want to do is adjust it to the point where you've gone too far and then back it off. Don't just go down 5 points and be like, it's fine. Keep going, because and that right there is how I learned how to PID tune, top to bottom, 7-8 years ago. You're like, if you're afraid of screwing up your PID tune, just take a screenshot before you start screwing with stuff. Just take a screenshot. All the numbers will be there, and then fuck around with it all you want. And if you make it worse, then you just pull the screenshot up and put the numbers or the sliders back to where they were, and you're golden. Messing around with the PIDs, you're not going to blow anything up. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to arm the rig, and it's going to go brrr, and it's going to try to take off on its own. You quickly disarm it, you plug it back in, you undo whatever you just did, and it's going to be fine again. Don't be afraid of the PIDs. Like, take the screenshot, make sure that you have a record of where they were, and then play around in there. The changes that you make are pretty subtle. So be very aware of that. If you change that value by 5 points, you're going to think you can feel the difference, but you probably can't. In your case, you've got like this very specific behavior that's happening. So that behavior will probably calm down if you move it down by as little as 5 points, and you'll be able to tell. But in terms of like, I want to learn what the PIDs do, I'm going to fly around, I'm going to move my PID values by 5 points, I'm going to fly around again. Oh, I definitely feel the difference? Probably not. You probably don't feel the difference. It's probably placebo. I spent a couple of years dealing with that before I realized like how subtle the changes really are. So yeah, go in there, keep making changes. Change 5 points at a time, change 10 points at a time, change 20 points at a time. Like I said, the worst thing that's going to happen is it's going to oscillate a little bit. As soon as it starts to oscillate, you just disarm it. It will not immediately hurt something. If you don't disarm it and it continues to oscillate for a half an hour, not a half an hour, but like a minute, yes, it will explode. Why is this in here? That's weird. I never noticed that before. Yeah, there you go, my friend. Really good question. That is just the way that yaw works. The other solution is to not stab yaw. Like, there's almost always a piloting solution to these issues. Like I said, right now, where your PIDs are, you've got a shitload of yaw authority. So if you just don't hammer the yaw stick over, if you have a slower attack on the yaw stick, it won't exhibit that behavior anymore. And not many moves need such an aggressive yaw stab. Usually, like, we're doing that really aggressive yaw stab to kind of like check our tune or just to like screw around. I don't know if you remind me, I will do that on. We're gonna fly a bunch of batteries today. If you remind me, I'll do that on a couple of my rigs to see if they do them. I think mine might, but like I said, in normal flying, I never go full stick yaw really quickly. It's just not like, it's not a good camera movement. Like, it makes the camera like whip to the side, and which is like kind of disorienting. I always want a little bit less like aggression, so that like not just FPV pilots can watch my footage, right? Like, I want normal people to be able to watch my footage and not go like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop whipping around so quick. So yeah, I have a smoother style so that more people can hopefully watch and enjoy. So yeah, bunch of different ways that you can deal with that problem. VPro says, I'm waiting for a Mobula 6, 28,000 kV motors, Meteor frame, and props. Should I swap them right away or beat the crap out of the stock parts first? My experience is 80 hours in the sim. VPro, in my opinion, always fly stuff exactly as it is right out of the box. If nothing else, it's going to give you an appreciation for the changes that you're about to make. More importantly, it's going to let you know if that quad is defective out of the box. If you take it out of the box and start changing stuff, and then you put it up in the air and it doesn't work right, you're going to have no idea if you screwed it up or if it was screwed up out of the box. So always, 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 in my opinion, fly stuff out of the box. And don't just put it up in the air for 15 seconds and go, it sucks, it has no power. Pound on it a little bit. Put, not 100 batteries, put 20 batteries through it. Make sure it survives at least a little bit. Because once you start modifying it, there are certain resellers that will make your life a lot more difficult during the return process if they see that you've soldered a different battery lead to it or changed the motors or things like that. So do yourself a favor, fly it a bunch as it is out of the box. Like I said, absolutely, like if nothing else, if everything goes perfect, you've still at least given yourself this really nice appreciation for the mods that you've done at some point. And it's just a really good kind of learning experience. So Veritas Wuza says, woohoo. CMYK says, yo, yo. Brett Anderson says, sharing my plight, new Mobula 6 from RDQ, bad motor / new set of 708, 30,000 kV red rockets installed, ESC config NEC. I don't know what NEC is. To reverse, and horrible runtime on old unfolded cells. Yeah, non-folded cells are never going to work with these new crazy power motors. Slash BT 2.0 swap after your show. Brent, I'm going to give you the same kind of rundown that we just went through. Did you fly it? It could be defective right out of the box. How would you know? I hope you flew it before you did the upgrades. If you didn't fly it before the upgrades, put everything back. Put everything back the way it was. I know that sucks. But if you put it back the way that it was out of the box and you fly it and it's having problems, return that shit. Don't play this Stockholm Syndrome game that we've all developed of like, well, I fuck everything up, so it must be my fault. Like, no, sometimes it's not our fault. And that's okay. So, yeah, put it completely back to stock and see if the problem is still there. If it is, get rid of it. Get it back to RDQ. They're going to make you jump through some hoops. Stick with it. Eventually, they will let you return it and get yourself a new one. We demand our stuff to be incredibly inexpensive, and with it being inexpensive comes shitty quality control. It's a part of the game. Eventually, you'll get one. The next one that you get will probably be fine. VPro says, did you consider creating a live stream clips channel like Josh has? It would be so useful. It would. I just, as one person doing all of this, I just don't have the time. Joshua is fortunate enough to have a couple of editors working for him. And that's, yeah, I mean, Blunty runs his clips channel. Like that's, and Joshua pays Blunty to do that. yeah, I can barely pay myself to. I mean, I basically don't. I don't have like a salary per se. Like I don't go on vacations for myself or anything like that, or you know, buy parts for my cars anymore. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't afford to do that. It would be awesome though. God, it would be so nice. Freelojo dropping the Patreon link. Thank you very much, dude. Hector says, thanks for your effort. You're certainly welcome, my friend. Prop Junkie says, don't sell yourself short. CiottiFPV, you're internet famous at least. Hardly, man. But thank God. I would hate to be internet famous. Fame is awful. Awful, 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 awful. Freelojo says, today's date is January 21st. It's a Sunday. Thank you for the reminder, dude. Brandon Woodford says, what's up, everyone? Good afternoon. Brett Anderson says, Shredder, yup, 702s. 708. He said 708. Yeah, right, 702s. I didn't even read it as 708. I was sure you said 702s because 30,000 kV motors are only made in, I guess they're made in 802s as well. But Upside says, the young Professor Teddy. Blind Pyro says, how do you fit the ultra short Singularity under the Mobula canopy? Mine is a concerningly tight fit, and I had to make it a scary bend in the antenna. You got to make the bend in the antenna. That's fine. Those antenna wires are very durable. You can make damn near a 90-degree bend in them. It's going to be... Oh, here's one that's taken apart. Perfect timing, my friend. Here's one that's taken apart. You can see the bend that I make in it. I've been doing this forever, and I've never had a single issue. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hold on. I got to put it on a darker background. Stay out of there. There it is. So that's the front is to the right. The rear is to the left. And then, so it sits like that. There you go. That's how it fits. But yeah, you do have to make the bend, and you have to send the wire. Well, I mean, after seeing this, I'm sure you'll be totally fine. But yeah, you don't want to run the wire straight back. You run the wire sideways. You put that like 45 to 90 degree bend. Sometimes these so Hugo makes these all by hand. So I have ultra shorts that are a little bit longer and a little bit shorter. This is one of the shorter ones, so this is not as aggressive of a bend. I have a couple of these where the bend is much more aggressive. You know, that's just a function of handmade stuff, right? It's sometimes going to be ever so slightly off. But yeah, you'll be fine putting a big aggressive. I have ones where it's like a 90-degree bend, and that wire is like damn near going into the ceramic antenna, and then it's bending back. So yeah, you'll be good. John Goblin says Betaflight 4.5 has a new easy landing feature that is amazing on Whoops. I put a short video in Ciotti Reacts on Discord. Ciotti Reacts is a Discord channel that you will get by joining my Patreon for as little as $3 a month. That's like 10 cents a day, yo. Help a brother out. Let's see. New easy landing mixer profile in Betaflight 4.5 makes for minimal bounce on Whoops. So that was normal, and now this is easy landing. Oh, that's cool. I don't know if you guys can really see that, but that's a big difference. So I guess it's chilling out the PID loop at 0 throttle. Interesting. So that's normal. And I mean, this is like really nasty because he's doing this on hardwood floors. On carpet, it's not nearly as bad. Look at that though. On carpet, it would probably just thump down immediately. This is what I'm looking at over here. This is what I'm concerned about. Is this is just waiting to waste 10 minutes of your time. Take care of this, my friend. The people that you live with will be very happy. Tiny whoops are a great excuse to clean your house, yo. Because the cleaner your house is, the happier the people that live with you will be, and the happier your tiny whoops will be. And I bet you the amount of time that you spend cleaning is offset by the amount of time that you won't spend pulling shit out of the props of your tiny whoops. There's your Marriage advice for the day. Your relationship advice for the day. Don't get married. It's a trap. Just live with someone that you love forever. The only problem with... Where is this camera down here? What is going on? Why is everything... Why is this camera off? What? Why is everything breaking? Hold on. C920. Nope, that's not the right one. C920. Well, that was weird. I don't know, man. OBS strike. See, I told you. Every time I click stop streaming, the computer has a little party and is like, let's shut something off! Off! And like every single time I live stream again, something doesn't work. All right, almost caught up on chat, and then we're going to talk about tiny whoop frames having front. Most tiny whoop frames having front and rears. Thanks for doing that, John Goblin. That's very cool. It's not cool enough for me to go to 4.5, but someone should. Gert Jan says, hey man, everything cool? It is indeed. Brandon's Big Bean says, not gonna lie, I secretly love to throw out a perfectly good PID tune and then start all over from scratch when I'm bored. Save it back up first. That's true. It's true. Zero Taste FPV says, is doing PID tuning even worth it for whoops at this point? Absolutely not. All the whoops I've ever flown feel great with Betaflight standard PIDs. Yep. In 2024, the stock beta on Betaflight 4.3 and up, even 4.2, the stock PIDs are brilliant, and you will get a much better flying rig by focusing on the mechanical tuning side of it, propellers, motors, batteries, versus spending hours and hours and hours on the PID tune. At this point, for me, PID tuning is taking the top two sliders and just moving them up a little bit. I move the D-gain slider up to 1.2. I fly it. I bring it back down. I move it up to 1.4. I move the slider below it, P&I, up to 1.2. I fly it. Bring it down. I move the D-gain slider up to 1.6, 1.4 P&I. I fly it. At some point in that process, it will start to get upset and angry and oscillate, and then I back it off, and that's it. That's tuning, and these rigs refuse to prop wash. They dive down 1,400-foot radio towers. They get 3 minutes of runtime, even with 36,000 kV motors. All that being said, PID tuning is kind of fun, and it will open your eyes to what the hell is happening in these rigs. And someday, if you go out and do some like important flying away from home, whether that's paid or just like on a once in a lifetime vacation, something weird is going to happen. You're going to be at like a different elevation. The air density is going to be different. Something's going to happen that requires you to change PIDs. And if you've screwed around with PIDs a little bit, you're going to know how to do that. If you haven't screwed around with PIDs, you're going to have to spend time with your family and not get that epic shot with your 5-inch rig or your tiny whoop or whatever. You'll live, but yeah, playing around with PIDs a little bit to get some feeling as to what's going on with them, in my opinion, is very valuable. If you're going to stay in the hobby and if you're at all engineering minded. It's pretty fascinating how it works. And yeah, it's worth the time. Just try not to fall down the rabbit hole, because there's not a whole lot of performance. Like, mechanical tuning is going to get you 80% of the way there. A little bit, very, very, very light PID tuning is going to get you the next like 10 to 15% of the way there. And then really diving into PIDs are going to get you the last few percent. So yeah, for most folks, it doesn't make a lot of sense to dive all the way in, unless that's fun to you. And if it's fun to you, you're going to do it anyway. So Chuck says, thanks so much information. You're certainly welcome, my friend. Brett Anderson said, YouTube did the thing again. Wow, it really scrolled me down this time. Brandon Anderson says, out of the box, it wouldn't lift off / one motor wouldn't spin, send it back. Emailed the company, told them I had spare motors. Oh, don't do that. When removing existing motors, noticed a lead out of the motor plug. If you buy something and it doesn't work out of the box, demand that you send it back. In nowhere on these websites does it say, if we send you a product and it doesn't work when you get it, you have to troubleshoot it and you have to fix it. It does not, I promise you that it does not say that on any of these websites. So demand that you send it back. If you want to play dumb and just be like, I don't know, I'm just getting this for my kid, I need it to work. That's a pretty easy way of getting out of that whole runaround with them. Because it also doesn't say anywhere on their websites, hey, you have to be a seasoned FPV professional in order to buy stuff from us, right? So yeah, if you get something out of the box and it doesn't work, get rid of it. It's unacceptable for us to have to troubleshoot and solder and do all this shit just to get something to work. They should work out of the box. And frankly, even if you do all that, even if you do a bunch of work to get something broken out of the box working, there's no telling if when it wasn't working, it hurt something. If there's a wire coming out of the motor, it could be shorting on something and it could be hurting the FETs on the ESC. So if it doesn't work out of the box, demand that you send it back. If you want to play dumb, great. That's a super easy way, in my opinion, to like have them stop asking questions. Because yeah, some resellers will really go back and forth with you, asking you for more and more stuff, pictures and videos, and it feels like they're just trying to wear their customers down so that they will keep the products. And yeah, that's best for them from a business perspective, right? And it doesn't take them much time to send it. I'm sure they have auto signatures that they just dump into an email. Now we need you to send us pictures of the PIDs. Now we need you to send us pictures of the rig. Now we need you to send you a video of the bad, right? So, yeah. Morton Upshot says, PSA, just bought a Mobula 6 ELRS from RDQ. Description said ELRS 2.0, but it came with Betaflight 442, making ELRS 3.0. Yeah, not surprising. Pretty much everything that you buy from now on, I think, is going to be ELRS 3.0. I'm not going to fault RDQ for that. It's hard to keep every single item, especially with Happy Model not changing the model number of the quad or the name of the quad or anything like that, right? It's hard to keep all the item descriptions up to date. So I'm not going to rag on RDQ for that. I think at this point, like pretty much everything, unless it's, I mean, that's a good way of telling how long something's been sitting on the company that you ordered from its shelf. If it comes with ELRS 3.0, it's a fairly fresh product. If it comes with 2.5, it's an older product. Prop Junkie said, I mean, feel free to shoot them an email and tell them that their description is wrong. Maybe they'll give you a discount. Prop Junkie said, I doubt they will, though. Prop Junkie says, I just put Betaflight 4.5 on my 5-inch. So far, so good. Best part is that you can change motor direction again in Betaflight like the old days. That's very cool. I haven't updated anything to the version of Betaflight where that's broken, other than like maybe one tiny whoop, I think. So, Sam Harrison says, LOL, pulling hairs out of brushless right now. Blind Pyro says, come for whoop, stay for life advice. Welcome to CiottiFPV. Yeah. Bob Bruce says, it's a trap. Done it twice so far. 0% success rate. What's that? Clean the house? Clean that goddamn house. Don't play that game. Oh, YouTube just did the thing again. YouTube doing the thing for anyone that's new is like in my chat window here. It will just randomly, like every couple of minutes, scroll me all the way to the bottom. And I try to read everybody's comments, so I'm usually like up here somewhere. So every couple of minutes it just does this, and then I have to scroll back up and try to figure out where the hell I just was. It's incredibly annoying. CMYK says, only tune for racers. Yeah, right. So for racing, there are some real benefits for tuning. It can potentially make you a little bit faster. And a little bit more consistent. But for freestyle, yeah, it's nowhere near as important. And there are benefits to under-tuned rigs. The less aggressive your tune is, the more of the bad flight behaviors that you as a pilot have caused you're going to be able to see. So a shitty PID tune is actually going to make you a better pilot because the tune is not going to cover your ass. You're going to have to cover your ass. You're going to have to figure out what the hell it is that you're doing on the sticks to put the rig into prop wash or to cause yaw washout or any of the other problems associated with bad tunes. And if you keep doing that for a while, you will learn to not put the rig into those dirty air situations. And that's a really valuable skill to have. Then, when you crank the tune up, you can put the rig into those situations, but only when you choose it. And here's the real secret, is that when you put the rig into dirty air and the PID loop covers your ass, it uses a bunch of battery because it's got this dirty air that makes the rig want to wobble, and the PID loop is firing each motor up to negate that. And it's firing these motors up hard, and then it's breaking it down. So it's using as much juice as it possibly can to spin up and down each motor every single time it wobbles to fight that dirty air, and that's going to eat your battery life. So if you get better as a pilot and you don't put it into those situations other than when you specifically want that camera look, that camera movement, you're going to get better battery life. You're going to have cooler motors. It's a really good skill to have. So I've said before that if your goal right now is to get better as a pilot, leave the stock tune and just fly and get better as a pilot. And then someday, when you want to show off your footage, or when you're insane enough to start a live stream where you play your flight footage at the beginning and the end and then fly during the stream, then you can crank the tune up so that you don't look like an idiot that doesn't know how to tune. But the joke's on the people that call you an idiot that don't know how to tune, because, yeah, hopefully, not hopefully, but yeah, with a shitty tune, you're learning to be a better pilot. Doc is in the house. What's up, brother? I haven't seen you in a hot minute. Good to have you back. He says, have you used the Karate Whoop tune on 4.4? It's very good. I don't use anybody's tunes ever. Tuning is so easy, and I've been doing it for so long that there's really no reason for me to use somebody else's tunes. I'm not really much of a believer in preset tunes like that. Those tunes were set up for one very specific quad. You do not have that exact same build, so that tune is never going to be perfect for your rig. I always preach that you should custom tune each and every rig. Betaflight defaults are brilliant if you've got a good mechanical system, and then you can just tweak them a little bit to your exact set of motors, propellers, battery, all up weight, and the level of destruction that you've brought to your rig thus far. So yeah, I never recommend that anybody runs any of these preset tunes. I think it's a pretty bad idea. Where I do think the preset tunes are kind of cool is that you can, like, if you don't know tuning, you can look at someone else's numbers and you can learn from that. But actually running those tunes, I don't think is a great idea because, yeah, it's just not. Even if you manage to find that person's exact build that they did that tune on, they are going to have a different number of crashes and a different number of wear in their components than you. And that actually has the most to do with how aggressive you can make your tune. How beat up your rig is actually going to have way bigger of an effect than the components. I don't know if way bigger is right. It has more of an effect. I'll say that. It doesn't have like way more of an effect because the hardware that you've chosen does have a big effect. But yeah. Braden's Baked Bean says, I beg to differ. Tuning is half of the fun of the hobby. For some people, it certainly is. I think for most people that it's not, though. I think most people prefer flying to tuning. But there's no wrong answers. If you prefer tuning to flying, I love that. You're somebody that I want to hang out with because I'm the other side of that. I really, really, really prefer flying to tuning. So the more people that I know that prefer tuning over flying, the smarter I can be when it comes to tuning without having to do all the hard work myself, right? I can help those people fly better. Those people can help me tune better. It's a perfect system. Brad Bindon says, would you mind watching my 60-second video of my raw RunCam Thumb and give me your thoughts? I actually watched it either yesterday or the day before. It flies shockingly good for being on a 65 millimeter rig. yeah, it's funny. I carried a Insta360 Go 1. They just called it the Insta360 Go, which was 18 grams on a 65 millimeter Whoop ages ago. I'm talking like 2 years ago I did that, and it flew like absolute ass. The biggest problem was the only mount was this like dingleberry mount on the bottom. And so the center of gravity was super low, so it did this really weird flight behavior. Brad, you're picking up a 4 something gram naked thumb, and boy, oh boy, does it show. You're on a much higher... That was back in the days of 0802 25,000 kV motors being the biggest, most powerful motors we had. You're on 702 32,500s, and boy, does it show. But yeah, the flight characteristics of that rig look fine. You're going to take a hit on runtime. Whenever you add weight to these things, runtime is the biggest hit that you take. But yeah, I'm impressed by the way that flies, man. That's a pretty cool little setup there. That has me thinking about trying to snag a RunCam Thumb Pro and ripping it apart. Is that the regular Thumb or the Thumb Pro that you've got on there? The only thing is the video quality coming out of the RunCam Thumbs is not all that much better than what we get from Walksnail. And with Walksnail, there's a lot of other benefits, and it's almost the same amount of weight gain. Like building a Walksnail Whoop, it's like an extra 6 grams. You're only adding, between the zip ties and the thumb, you're probably adding about 5 grams. So it's tough for me to justify that. But if I see a RunCam Thumb Pro cheap, I'll probably snag one. Bob Bruce says, was talking about marriage. Gotcha. Yeah, fair enough. Upside says, I followed the Betaflight cross AIO rabbit hole. Solution wasn't there for me, so I gave it 4.5 and went from there, CiottiFPV and all. Brent Anderson says, I know, but I just had to, hoping for success and a spare set of motors from them. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I mean, you do you, Brent. But just in general, there's just, and myself included, like if I ever were to buy a bind and fly, I would probably not fly it right out of the box, and I would spend all this time upgrading it, and then it would catch on fire, and I would blame myself. So like, this is something that I realized last year at some point. Like, yeah, we really do have this like weird Stockholm syndrome around our stuff like not working, and it's not always our fault, and we have to like, and there is a way around it. So yeah. Dare V says, that's the KISS way of flying. I strongly recommend against it. Veritas says, my fiance flies my drone and she gets various long colored hairs in the drone props. My excuse is, I once had really long oh, God. I'm going to stop reading there. And Brad Monden says, there's two Thumb Pros, 4K and 4K wide. Gotcha. I didn't even know that. Okay. Feel free to keep asking questions, but we're going to dive into the subject, the main topic of this live stream, which is, do Tiny Whoop frames have a front and back? B, more specifically, which Tiny Whoop frames have a front and back? Friday, we did a stream where we took a look at the 10 most popular / best Tiny Whoop frames that there are around. So I've got these all sitting here, so I can show you exactly. I mean, I really don't need these. I can just show you how to figure this out, which I'm going to do first. But then we'll do that, and I will, yeah, I'll take you through it. So, does a Tiny Whoop frame have a front and back? Yes, most of them do. It has nothing to do with strength. It has nothing to do with durability. It has nothing to do with vibration resistance. It has to do with battery mounting. Our batteries, let me get this going here. Our batteries have a big old pocket. There we go. They have a big old pocket or a big pouch of lithium polymer and a bunch of other shit, right? And so this part of the battery here, this will be better. There we go. This part of the battery here is very heavy. All right? So this is where the most of the weight is concentrated, right here. It stops here at this plastic. This plastic bit, if you next time you have a do I have a bad battery in here? Shit. Really? I always have a battery that I've hurt in here. I just emptied this. I just emptied this garbage can. That's a shame. Next time you get a battery that shits its pants, discharge it down as much as you can and rip this plastic part off of here. This is just a hollow chunk of plastic here. Inside of there are a set of wires that are soldered up to the actual Lipo cell, and then those little wires do like a little loopy boy here, and then they're soldered to the BT 2.0 or the PH 2.0. So all of that to say, this part of the battery here is nowhere near as dense and heavy as this part of the battery down here. So if you were to take this battery and perfectly center it on the tiny whoop frame, right? So I'm looking at like this support and this support here, right? If you were to perfectly center this like that, this whoop would not have a centered, it would not have a balanced center of gravity. This situation right now is going to have a rearward center of gravity, which you don't want. Center of gravity on tiny whoops is really important. They're very lightweight. They don't have a ton of thrust. It really does make a difference getting the center of gravity as close to balanced as possible. Luckily, some frame manufacturers have realized this, or maybe they did this by accident, and what they've done, which you can kind of see here, is they have offset the battery tray to the rear. So what I'm doing here with this frame is I'm going to line up. All right, so I'm going to perfectly line up this frame for you. And the way that I'm going to line this frame up is by the supports. So if you look, and I'm going to do that down here. I'm going to line this frame up perfectly with the camera with these supports. See what I'm poking at here with the little poker? So I'm going to be looking at this support all the way in the back, and then I'm going to be looking at this support here all the way in the back, okay? I'm not going to line it up by the battery tray because the battery tray is offset. So let me do this real quick. Let me line this thing up using the supports in the back. And then I want you to notice where the battery tray sits. Well, let's get a little bit more light going here. So this is the Meteor 65 frame, the old school Meteor 65 frame. It has the same geometry as the Meteor 65 Air frame. And give me a second. Almost there, almost there. Okay, perfect. So the supports are now perfectly lined up, and look where the center of the battery tray is. See how the center of the battery tray is to the left a little bit? It's subtle, but it's there. And now look, right? So the center of the battery tray is to the left, and now look at the top of the frame. See the arrow here? See the arrow? Hold on. There. So the arrow is facing forwards in most cases, and the battery tray is offset rearwards. All right? Arrow faces forwards, battery tray is offset rearwards. Actually, don't even think about that. Just don't think about the arrow. Think about the battery tray. It's all about the battery tray. You always want to run your tiny whoop frame with the battery tray offset rearwards, because when you put your battery in there, it's going to slide farther forward. Because the battery tray is designed to catch on the plastic bit, when you put the battery in here, it's actually going to go too far forward. See that? And so if you build the frame with the tray offset rearwards, it's going to keep the battery from going even farther forward, right? And if you get your, if you run like a longer battery lead, you can technically screw around with like trying to get your CG perfect, like looking at the Lipo pouch, holding the frame like this, tying a fishing line to it. You can spend all kinds of time trying to figure out exactly where you put this battery to get the CG correct. And then you're going to crash the rig and the battery is going to slide all the way forward. That's what happens to me all the time. So yeah, they do have a front and rear, and it's all about the battery bay. It has nothing to do with the arrow, although the arrow usually faces forwards. But we're going to go through a bunch of these frames, and I'm going to show you the battery, because there are frames where the battery tray is completely symmetrical front to back. So with those, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's how it works. That is what make the battery tray is what makes a Tiny Whoop frame asymmetrical front to rear. Period. Like, that's it. I guess you could argue that some frames, like the Newbie Drone Cockroach frame, they have these little hooks in the back here, which are set up to hold a mini Mortal T antenna. That's a really easy way of knowing it front from rear. Although there are people that do long range stuff that run their Immortal T antennas in the front. So you could argue that this actually doesn't have a front and back because it depends on where you want your antenna to be, front versus rear. So yeah, no wrong answers. But there is a wrong answer when it comes to most Tiny Whoop frames not having a front and rear, and it's wrong to say that they don't have a front and rear. Most of them have offset the battery tray for you, so that when your battery goes firing forward the first time you crash, it doesn't offset the CG as badly. Personally, because of how heavy, because of how often I crash, and because of how heavy the battery lead wires are, I actually run my battery leads as short as I possibly can to save the weight. And because inevitably my battery is going to shift forward anyway, I just let it shift forward. The other reason that I don't care about that is the front motors have less work to do. So by letting the battery shift forward like this, I'm giving the front motors more work to do. I don't love that the center of gravity is not perfectly balanced, but it's, you know, consolation prize kind of thing. The reason that the front motors have less work to do is when you're flying forwards, the front motors get this wall of clean air. And then the rear motors get garbage, right? So like this nice wall of clean air comes in and it gets sucked down into the front motors. Well, the rear motors, they have to pull air from like up here. They're getting all kinds of weird turbulence from the front ducts. So the rear motors always work harder than the fronts. So if your CG is shifted a little bit more forward, that's going to give the front motors a little bit of extra work to do. So it's, again, it's imperfect, and that's kind of an excuse. I would technically rather have the center of gravity be balanced, but, you know, what do you, like, the option is to make the battery tray fit tighter and to put like some adhesive or some gummy shit in there. Well, then it becomes a pain in the ass to get the batteries in and out, and that's just silly. So for me, I just run the battery all the way forward like that, and then in crashes it doesn't shift around. I can run really short battery leads that are nice and lightweight, and I've got the lightest possible build. Sure, the CG is shifted a little bit far forwards. That lets the front motors do a little bit more work. And yeah, I haven't noticed really many, if any, ill effects from running these things that way. So, Meteor 65 frame absolutely does have a front and back. They made it easy for you. The little arrow is going to point forward, and that'll have your battery tray offset backwards. Meteor 65 Air frame, I believe, is exactly the same. Where's that broken airframe? But it doesn't really matter because you shouldn't be using the airframes. They're just way too fragile. And you can't get a good PID tune on them because they're so wobbly. So stay away from this frame in my opinion. But if you look at it like this, I'll do it on the camera for you. I think the arrow actually faces rearwards on this frame if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I broke a bunch of these frames. But again, all you got to do is sit here and line it up perfectly. Make sure that you line. So the other way that you can line these up is by the posts on top. So you hold it up like this. It's hard to do with a clear frame. Hold it up like this. Line those posts up. There's a million ways to line it up. And in this case, I can't tell on the camera. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to do it like this. This is how I do it. I hold it up like this, and then I just find points to reference off of. Takes a little bit of time. Be patient. Always use the supports, the standoffs. Okay, there we go. Wait, hold on. You got to get it perfect. You can't half-ass this. You got to get it just right. Close one eye. And this battery tray is offset to the right, meaning the right is the rear. Yep, and there's the arrow. The arrow is in the rear. So you know what's really funny is the Facebook post is wrong. Oh, that's super funny. The Facebook post said, this guy built his frame backwards. And I didn't comment on that. Oh. I think I've lost the Facebook post. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Shit. I would love to go back into that post and yell at them. Damn it, it's gone. I did comment in that post, so in theory, someone will... Maybe somebody already has replied to it. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Really, computer, you asshole. How hard do I have to hold down the command button for you to actually open things in new tabs, as I'd asked you to? Oh, come on, dude. What the... Why is this happen? Oh my god, Facebook, I hate you so much. I hate you so much. What the fuck is happening? Pfft, Armatan. Yikes. Yikes. This might be it. This might be it. This might be it. This might be it. Nope. Eventually somebody will comment on that post. And I'll find it again. Wow, yeah, no, Facebook keeps going. Wow. Facebook is full-blown broken. It won't let me... Hey, there it is, 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 there it is. This pilot swoop was built backwards. It is not. The arrow is in the rear. Look, I got Dan, he knows what's up. Where's my fucking comment? Whatever, I don't care enough. But yeah. That person's wrong. That's pretty funny. Okay, so that's the... that is... I gotta admit, that's pretty annoying. The old school Meteor 65 frame, the arrow points forwards. The Meteor 65 airframe, the arrow points backwards. But for the love of God, don't run the Meteor 65 airframe. It's junk. It's just gonna... It just breaks. It's just so floppy and wobbly. You're gonna have to pull your PIDs down. You're not gonna be able to get a good PID tune. The only benefit is it's like 0.4 of a gram lighter. It's definitely not worth that. Let's go through some of these other frames. Weebleed Crown frame is based off of the old school Meteor 65, so I'm pretty certain that the arrow is going to face forwards on this. Offset to the left. Yep, sure enough. Weebleed Crown frame, arrow points forward just like the OG Meteor 65. frame. This is the Happy Model frame. I've actually never tested this frame because I've only flown this frame for one battery at a time, because that's how long it lasts before it breaks. So this is kind of a worthless test since you can't get more than one battery out of this frame before it explodes, but it does not... Nope, it is offset. It is offset to the right, and then the arrow faces forward. So there you go. Happy Model frame, arrow faces forward. But don't run this frame. It's not worth the weight savings. Either the battery tray will break, or the standoffs between the duct and the support will break. This is the OG Betaflight indestructible brushless frame. You can get new old stock of these from tinywhoop.com. Once they're gone forever. It's nothing special. But so this is an old school frame with an old school battery tray here, which is very offset. So this battery tray on this frame, see the shape? It's got a really wacky shape to it. So all you got to do is sit here and put the battery in each direction, and you'll see, good Lord, yeah, so that's way offset. When I put the battery in like this, and you push it as far forward as it'll go. I mean, this is kind of as far forward as it'll go, but if you get into a crash, it's gonna push it farther. And then you put the battery in the other side, the other direction, I should say. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's the other way to do it, is to put the... That's probably a way easier way to do this. Hold on. There's probably a much easier... I think I just figured out a way easier way to do this. So you put the battery all the way in, right? Push it in as far as it'll go. And then you just look at how far the battery sticks out, right? So this sticks out past this outer line of the front ducts, and then you just put the battery in the other way. Push it all the way in there. Well, I guess you could sit it down on a flat surface. It's kind of hard to tell. I just realized it's kind of hard to tell which is which. Because they're... Alright, so I'm going to put it flat down on the... Here. Put it flat down on the desk. And I'm just going to see how much the battery pushes up. Ready? Alright, so it moved that amount. Not much. Now let's put it in the other way. There's probably a dozen different ways that you can figure this out, but... Alright, and now we're going to do the same test. I can't tell. That's hard to tell. I'm sure there's a way to figure that out. You probably take like a straight edge and hold like a straight edge across the front duct. Yeah, that's probably a good way. So it's going over the straight edge a little bit like that. And then if I flip it, okay, take the straight edge. That's I think that might be a harder way to tell, to be honest. And I just noticed something that's not great. You have to be very careful. So the center of this, battery tray that is offset for sure is not what the plastic hangs up on. And that completely invalidates the... Well... Here, watch. Watch where the battery stops. Watch what the battery stops on. Ready? Watch where the plastic part hits. You can't see. Need more light. More light in a darker background. Here, hold on. Much better. Watch where the battery stops. The plastic stops. See it? I can't push this battery all the way in to get to this. and this is what's offset. The plastic is hanging up on this part of the frame here. Hold on, my fat finger is covering it up. It's hanging up on this part of the frame right here. Focus, you bastard. Let's point it up a little bit. This. Even though it's out of focus, you can see it. So that's really important. And so what that means is that on this frame, the only difference in center of gravity is going to be the weight of this center part of the plastic, because the battery is going to sit. I noticed this with the little straight edge just now. It didn't seem like the battery was any farther forward when I put it in each different direction, and that's because it's not, because the battery is hanging up on this part over here, which is the same on both sides of the frame. So the battery is going to sit in the same spot, but I guess if you want to be completely insane, this and this do weigh something, and they are offset, but that is a fraction of a gram. That doesn't matter. So Meteor 65 frame, it doesn't matter. Let me just think about that for one more second. Yeah, no, it's gonna hit that part of the frame every single time. So I guess the real way of testing this is to put the battery in and to see how far forward it sticks. Take a straight edge, hold the straight edge on the ducts, and give it a look. You got to be sensitive to the way you're rotating it. Like, I can rotate this so that it looks like the battery is not even touching the do it on the yeah, you just have to, you got to be careful with that. Like, I can rotate it so that there is a gap between the straight edge and the battery. I can rotate it so that the battery is all the way over the straight edge. When you flip it around and do it the other way, you got to figure out how to get that rotation right. So yeah, that's how you do it. Meteor 65 frame is symmetrical from a CG standpoint. Yes, this part of the thing is offset, but it's not offset enough to affect the CG. Meteor 65 airframe, it's going to be the same situation. So it hits the same spot and hangs out a little bit past the front ducts. Okay, and then we'll put it in the other way. Yep, symmetrical. Meteor 65 symmetrical. We bleed crown frame. It seems super similar to the OG Meteor 65. Battery hits those points. Wow! Started the stream saying, yes, they are asymmetrical. And now I've realized many of them are symmetrical. But welcome to the beauty of long-form content. We can figure this shit out, yo. That's 3 frames tested. Happy model frame. Oh, God, this is the worst frame ever. Oh, this whole... Ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so here's one of the other problems with this frame. The battery just wobbles around in there. This is a silly frame to test, but we'll test it anyway. A little bit of an overhang there. Let's flip it. Same little bit of an overhang. Certainly seems to be symmetrical. Let me look at it like this, though, just to kind of confirm. Yeah, Looks pretty damn symmetrical to me. OG Beta FPV frame. This is the frame that made me realize the error in my ways. 16-bit. Did you 16-bit says, "Oh my God." Oh, I thought he said, "I am God." I thought maybe 16-bit had half an hour ago said, but the battery doesn't catch on that part of it. So this should be very easy for us to figure out. All right. So we've got the battery overhanging the straight edge a lot. See it? See that? A ton of overhang. And now if we flip it, it's barely overhanging. See that gap in there? So this OG Beta FPV frame is very asymmetrical. And the point is for the battery to not hang way the hell out. So with this frame, this is how you would want to mount the battery for sure. Right? You want the least amount of overhang possible. Okay, so this is absolutely how you would want to mount this battery. Because look, see the mounting part here? It's catching the plastic piece all the way back there. Whereas if we mount it the other way, the battery slides all the way forward. Look how far forward that slides. See that? Because this part of the mount down here, come on, you shitbag. There we go. This part of the mount down here doesn't catch that plastic. Jesus Christ, come on. Doesn't catch that plastic until it's all the way up there. All right, so this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So OG, barely available anymore. Yeah. Beta FPV frame, very symmetrical. If you're gonna run this frame, make sure you point the make sure you build it correctly. There is an arrow on this frame. Let's see what the arrow tells us. The arrow tells us, so this is the front. Okay, the arrow faces forward. It's starting to kind of feel like if you just point the arrow on the frame forward, you're gonna be okay. But let's look at a couple more frames. This is another Meteor 65. We already tested that. And now we're into cockroach frames, actually. And they don't have an arrow. And they're an example of frames where everything is symmetrical on the bottom, and it's kind of obvious. Just the way that this frame is designed. Hitting it doesn't help, but it makes me feel better. The way that this frame is designed, everything down here is completely symmetrical. So this frame just will not have a front and a back, other than the version of this frame that has the little hookers on it, which I'll show you in a second. But yeah, these Newbie Drone cockroach frames are completely symmetrical. If we want to double check that, all we got to do is take a battery and put it on in there, and then we take a look at where the plastic of the battery is fouling, is a word that we could use, and it's hitting on that part right there, the little swoopy boy. And then if we reverse it, it's going to catch on the exact same part on this side. So Newbie Drone cockroach old school. Well, this is actually the V2, but this is the same exact geometry as the V1. So cockroach V2 and V1 frames, completely symmetrical. Cockroach 65 V3 frame, it's symmetrical in the way that we were just talking about, in that the plastic of the battery is going to hit on the same spot, one side versus the other. But you do have these little hookers that are there to hold an Immortal T antenna. So you can choose to point these forwards or backwards. You do you, my friends. There it is! that's how you can tell whether or not your tiny whoop frame. You know, this is a bunch of the frames. There are other frames out there. These are the frames that you really want, though. And yeah, that's how you tell if they actually have a front and a back. Looks like you can just point the arrow forward and you're going to be good to go. Even on the Meteor 65 airframe. I mean, again, I guess you could argue that this plastic triangle has a little bit of extra weight to it. So you want to put that in the back. But the amount of extra weight that this little triangle has, it's not significant enough. And there's just nothing else about the frame that is asymmetric front to rear. I will say this, though. If you're going to torture yourself and run a Meteor 65 airframe, you're going to develop those creases that they all get after a bunch of crashes. So what you would actually want to do to try to get a little bit more life out of this is reverse it at some point. Run it forwards. When you start to see that crease getting really bad that will eventually break, pull it apart, rotate this thing backwards, and run it for a while in the other direction. We crash into the front ducts much more than the rear ducts, so you can maybe get another 10 or 15 batteries out of it by flipping the damn thing around once you see that it's about to break up in the front corners. My initial response to that Facebook post was, it doesn't matter which is front and back. You've got the crease there. You've got about 5 more. You've got about 5 more crashes before it's going to explode. Anyway, so it doesn't really matter which way is front and rear, because I'm a dick. There it is, my friends. Let me get caught up on chat. I am way behind. Veritas, who's it? No, we got that. Brad Mondin says the 4K wide has something similar to GoPro's wide view or whatever it's called. Ah, okay. Super view is what GoPro calls it. That's pretty slick. So the RunCam Thumb Pro 4K wide would be the one to get. That's slick. 661 says, I think the battery tray is offset just to clear the USB port. No. I have it. I've been orienting these frames with the battery tray farther back, which would make the battery tray closer to the USB port, and it's still got plenty of room. Oh, you know what? This does remind this. Okay, so now that I know that it doesn't make a difference, I'm actually going to start running these. So this is how I've been building these, and I'm going to reverse them. Before, there was a point that I didn't realize this about the battery tray, and when I noticed that the battery tray was offset, I started building these frames with the arrow pointing forward. And what sucks about doing that is that with the battery tray offset backwards, getting this BT 2.0 lead, when I build these, getting my little 180 degree BT 2.0 lead in through this gap here is really difficult when the battery tray is offset backwards. It's very easy to get it through this opening up here because the battery tray is offset back here. Now that I realize that having the battery tray offset like this doesn't matter because the plastic part of the battery hits back here, which is symmetrical front to back, I'm going to start building these the other way around with the arrow facing backwards, because it's just going to make it easier for the BT 2.0 lead to go through there. And technically speaking, what 661 said will also be true. It'll give us a little bit more space for if you're using a USB cable with like a big ass plastic part on it. It'll make it a little bit easier to get the USB plugged in. I've never really had that problem, but Sony gives you USB cords with their PlayStation that have like a giant chunk of plastic right above the metal of the USB plug, and I've never been able to get that to work, so I just don't use those cables. I've never been able to get them to plug in here, so maybe if this was on the other side, those cables would work. I mean, that's kind of an insane thing, but yeah, I'm actually going to start building these with the arrow facing backwards because it'll just make my life easier when I'm swapping these things around. That's pretty nitpicky, though, if we're honest here. That's super, super, super nitpicky, actually. Upside says, the only reason I can see that the Beta FPV light frame has a triangle at that point is to guide the 300 mAh battery. Not really, no. It would actually, if that triangle was close enough to the battery, it would actually make the situation worse. But it's not. The triangle is way up here, and then the battery goes in way down here. That triangle doesn't get anywhere near the battery. There's like a good, I don't know, 3 millimeter gap between the battery and the edge of that triangle. It's a good thought, though. What else we got? 661 says toilet tank whoop. This is something that we have talked about for ages. This is the reason, all of this that we've been talking about is the reason that toilet tanking a whoop is a bad idea. If you want to run a whoop sideways like this and you've got your battery off, sure, you can, again, like I said earlier, you can spend a ton of time trying to figure out what the CG of the battery actually is, right? Because it's not even. You can't just look at the part of the battery with the lithium and then center that, because the plastic and the wires and the BT 2.0 plug all have weight to them. So, and not to mention that the first time you crash it on its side, the battery is going to shift. And now you're going to have CG that's off-centered to the left or the right, and now that's going to make the motors on that side work a lot harder. So when you go to do right flips, it's going to flip slower, and these motors are going to have to work harder than when you do left flips. CG being offset left to right is really bad. I've flown rigs with toilet tanked batteries, 5-inch rigs and Cinewhoops with toilet tanked batteries, where the battery has not been centered, and it sucks. It's really, really, really bad. So definitely don't toilet tank your whoop, because you'll never get the battery centered properly. Would be interesting if someone were to make a tiny whoop frame and take that into consideration. Take into consideration these specific batteries, since they're the only ones worth running, and figure out how to design the battery tray to perfectly center this. Or I would actually prefer it to slightly offset this forward, because I'm okay with the front motors working a little bit harder since they get the cleaner air. And by offsetting it a little bit forward, that lets you run slightly shorter battery leads, and the battery leads are pretty heavy. So yeah, that'd be interesting. EEDoc says, on the airframe, the rear is easy to see. Tilt the frame to flying forward position and look at how the arrow is in relation to your flight direction in each orientation. I think that's a great theory. I like that. I think what EEDoc is saying is that the arrow here, it's actually a flat piece of plastic, and it's at an angle. It's at this much of an angle, right? So if you were to fly the frame with the arrow facing forward, the arrow is like a big air brake. Put it against my hair. There you go. So the arrow is not very aerodynamic there. Whereas if you flip it around the other way, now it is very aerodynamic. But where that falls apart is as soon as you put a canopy on here, the canopy completely covers up that arrow. And the arrow is no longer in the airflow. The canopy is. I guess if you really start to increase the angle, that arrow is maybe in the airflow. You might as well, if you're going to torture yourself and run this fragile-ass frame, you might as well point the arrow backwards, because the frame is symmetrical. So it doesn't matter. There is no front and back. This piece of plastic, I mean, is the only difference in the front and back of this frame. So yeah, for sure, point on the Meteor 65 airframe, point this arrow backwards, because aerodynamically there is an amount of up tilt where it becomes less more aerodynamic with this in the rear until you fly backwards. As soon as you start flying backwards, the situation is reversed, but you don't fly backwards as much as you fly forward. So yeah, sure, fair enough. Meteor 65 airframe, you want that arrow pointing backwards because it's ever so slightly more aerodynamic that way. With freestyle, you're never going to be... I mean, that's a lot of up tilt. That was like 50, 60 degrees, probably 60, 70 degrees of up tilt. With freestyle, we're not doing that. But for racing, yeah, sure. Good call, E-Doc. I didn't even think of that. 661 says, the frame direction thing is a whole joke from everyone at Whooptopia. I think you just didn't catch it. I had no idea. I just saw this Facebook post, and I saw a bunch of people with asinine, completely wrong information and decided, hey, let's look at this and actually bring some facts to the game. And goddamn, am I glad that I did it, because I was wrong. At the beginning of the stream, I was wrong. I was convinced that these things were asymmetrical. But yeah, now I'm realizing that they are symmetrical, and that's great because it's going to make forcing that BT 2.0 lead through the back part of it a lot easier. And that's like real. Like there'd be times where I wouldn't be able to get it out of there, and I would have to pull the shrink wrap off of my little 180 BT 2.0 situation to get the damn thing out, and then I have to put the shrink wrap back on. I mean, that's real time. And I switch these. You know, I've told you guys, hey, if you have extra motors and extra frames, do this. Mount a bunch of motors up to frames, and then you can pull the canopy and camera out really easily from one and drop it into another. And offsetting the battery tray in the correct direction now is going to make that process a lot quicker. And that matters. If you're trying to test, if you're trying to A/B test, the amount of time between when you fly it in one frame with one set of motors and then you move it over to the other frame with a different set of motors, the shorter you can make that time, the better your short-term, the better of a chance your short-term memory has at remembering what the last one flew like. If you're sitting here with the fucking BT 2.0 lead, your short-term memory is going to go to hell, and your testing is going to be that much less reliable. Us testing these things is already extremely unreliable. So, yeah, there you go. Veritas Wuza says, dude, be careful when you're poking your little thing there, because you could get caught on that prop. I think that's a dick joke. Veritas Wuza also says, hey, bud, you still have a bandage on your thumb. It's been a long time. Do you need stitches so you don't get an infection? No, I have generalized anxiety disorder, and it just destroys me every single day, all day. And one of the ways that it comes out is I bite and pick at my fingers. And if I put a Band-Aid on my finger, then I can't get to the part of it that I'm attacking like a literal crazy person. So, yeah, there's that. 661 says, you realize batteries come in different lengths, right? You realize that this is the only battery that's even remotely worth running on Tiny Whoops, right? Like, if you're running any other battery than this one, you've lost your damn mind. These BT 2.0 300 mAh folded cell batteries so grossly outperform every single other Tiny Whoop battery that it's literally insane to not run these. And these are all, even though these have different stickers on them, that doesn't matter. We've talked about this a million times. These are all made by Gens Ace, which is the company, basically Tattoo. These are all exactly the same. We Bleed FPV, Tiny Whoop, Tattoo branded, Quad Gas branded, Dogcom branded. The Quad Gas and the Dogcom branded ones say that they're 320 milliamps. That's bullshit. Well, maybe these batteries are maybe We Bleed, Tiny Whoop, and Tattoo have it wrong in labeling them 300 mAh. Maybe they are actually 320. I doubt it, because Tattoo is Gens Ace, and they're who makes the damn things. So I doubt that they would mark them with the wrong milliamp. But in the world of batteries, there's so little standardization that you could put 7,000 mAh 500C on this battery and get away with it. So yeah, but yeah, sure, I do realize that there are other batteries. I have a box filled with every single other battery, but they will stay in that box forever because they perform like ass, and these perform unbelievably well. So yeah, there basically aren't other batteries available because you're crazy to run anything other than these. YouTube just did the thing, scrolling back up. 6S1 says, on that OG Beta 65 Pro... Oh, I didn't... Wait a second. Where is the Pro frame? I didn't test the Pro frame. Where is it? There it is. Let's test the Pro frame. Not that you should use it, in my opinion, and in my experience, but take a quick look at the Pro frame, 65 Pro frame. Oh, interesting. So on this frame, I bet you they didn't do that on purpose. The battery, the plastic part of the battery fouls on the supports. It doesn't even get to this point here. It hits there. And I mean, I could probably muscle this up and over. Yeah, but don't do that because now it's pushing on these supports and it has the potential to warp the frame a little bit, which you don't want. So on this, the battery's going to hang up there. You know what's interesting about that is that centers the battery a lot better. So in terms of front to rear center of gravity, the Meteor 65 Pro frame is actually the best because it pulls the battery backwards a little bit, right? Because of that, because it's hitting this, it's stopping on this support, that also means that it's symmetric. So it does not have a front and a back. Let me just confirm that real quick. And yep, it fouls on those supports on both sides. So yeah, the Meteor 65 Pro does not have a front and a rear, but oddly, it has the best center of gravity of all these frames that we've been looking at. So there's a reason to run the 65 Pro frame. I in my opinion, that's the only reason. Well, I guess, I don't know. You do you. You run what frame you want. The frames are so cheap, you might as well buy them all and play around with a bunch of different ones. But 6S1 says, on that OG Betaflight 65 Pro frame, not to be confused with the Meteor 65 Pro. Right. Yeah, that's what this is called. Right. This is the Beta 65 Pro frame. Good call. Most people run the Lipo above the battery tray, just under the flight controller, and then cut off the lower part of the tray. No way. How the hell would a battery fit in there? I don't know what batteries they're running down there. I guess maybe if they cut, there's a couple pieces of plastic here that you would need to cut off. But like out of the box, as the way it is, there's no way to do that. Look at the angle the battery is at. There's a couple of vertical pieces of plastic here that you would need to cut away. Hold on. There we go. See the little vertical plastic pieces here? You would need to trim that and that in order to make room for... Yeah. You can see it. It runs right into it. So yeah, if you trimmed those off, that's pretty cool. You could run the battery, although it's not totally happy to be doing that. You see the angle? See the angle the battery is still at? So even if I trim those off, I would have to force this battery up, and it would be kind of tweaking the frame a little bit. It would be kind of bending the frame out of shape a little bit. I don't really think there's much of a reason to run this frame anyway, but you could try that. It's gonna clamshell the frame a little bit, which I usually try to stay away from because I mean, hell, it could make things better for all we know, but it also could make things worse. And like, I don't know, I don't like when plastic is like pre-tensioned. It feels like it's ready to explode. But that's a very good call, man. I had no idea. I had never experienced these frames. When I went to brushless Tiny Whoops, the Meteor 65 frame was out, and that was the one that I dove straight into, and it was so good that I never really moved away from it. William Loesch says, I crashed Mobula 6 ELRS AO Crazy Bee and have been having a hell of a time trying to bind it. Updated and reflashed the board, receiver and motors tab active in Betaflight, but will not arm. Help. The arming procedure is the arming procedure. If you go through the same arming procedure that you did initially, which worked, and you crashed it, and now all of a sudden it won't work, it's broken. Like, there's nothing that happened in the crash that changed like the programming or anything. What happened is the chips on the AIO that handle all of the receiver functions, one of them has shit the bed or broken one of its little legs off. So yeah, it's broken. Like, the arming procedure is the arming procedure. If you do the procedure correctly and it doesn't arm, it's broken. I doubt that your transmitter broke at the exact same time that you crashed, but technically speaking, your transmitter could be the problem. If it works with other quads, then your transmitter's not the problem. So yeah, certainly sounds to me like it broke when you crashed. I know that sucks, but welcome to the great world of AIOs. If anything breaks on it, you got to replace the entire thing. It's one of the reasons that I hate AIOs so much, but on Tiny Whoops, there's just no other way. We have to run AIOs because of the weight issue. William Loesch says, if receiver doesn't want to bind after a crash, is the SPIRX dead? Yep. Prop Junkie says, do they really fly that bad when you toilet tank them? I mean, that bad is a completely subjective thing. I notice it, and if I notice something like that, and there's really no benefits to the toilet tanking of the battery, I don't do it anymore, right? Like, on a Tiny Whoop, right, it's symmetrical. It's not like a 5-inch rig where you've got a camera all the way up here and then you're pushing your battery back to offset the CG of the camera, right? So like on a 5-inch rig, the idea of toilet tanking the battery does kind of make sense. You've got a bunch of weight of the camera on the pitch axis, and then the idea behind toilet tanking is that you spread some of the battery weight out on the roll axis. The problem is, when you do that, the camera weight is all up front and there's no weight in the back to offset it. So you have a rig that is extremely front heavy, which is bad. If you, technically speaking, you can shift the toilet tanked battery backwards to help with that situation. But in order to move it back far enough, you have to line it up with the rear motors, and then the battery is right above the propellers. So if you bend a propeller, it slams up and cuts the battery, and the quad catches on fire, and now you got no quad at all. So it's a shitty situation on 5-inch rigs, in my experience. On Tiny Whoops, there's no reason to do it. There's no reason to spread weight on the roll axis. Just spread it on the pitch axis. If with the battery front to rear, it's going to make the pitch axis have a little bit more work to do. If you toilet tank it, it's going to make the roll axis have more work to do. There's no, right? Like, kind of, I would actually sort of rather the pitch axis have more work to do, because the roll axis, being a little bit quicker with less work to do, not toilet tanked, that's going to allow you to avoid crashes a little bit quicker. You do not use the pitch axis to avoid crashes as often as you use the roll axis. So yeah, toilet tanking has zero benefits, and in this case, a negative on Tiny Whoops. On rigs with a front-mounted camera, you could make an argument, but the negatives of toilet tanking, in my experience, vastly outweigh the positives. The worst part for me when I was doing the toilet tanking was that when you crash on the side, the battery just ejects out and unplugs, and now again you've potentially lost the entire quad because the beeper doesn't work, the video goes out and shit like that. So yeah, toilet tanking across the board is a bad idea in my experience, and I've tried it a bunch because I was like, there was a time 4-ish years ago where it was all the rage. There were like Wild Willie's frame came out designed for it. There were a couple other frames that were set up for it, and it was like, oh my god, this is the greatest fucking thing ever. This is what we've been looking for. And I fell for it, and I flew it, and I was like, I don't really see a difference. And man, is the CG far forward on the nose. And when you have the CG really far forward on the nose, you notice it when you chop the throttle, because you've got all 4 motors pushing, and then when you chop the throttle, the nose has all this extra weight, so the PID loop has to go crazy to try to catch and control that. So yeah. 16 says, dude, you are nitpicky. I am. When you get really good at things, you become a lot more nitpicky because, like, you start to notice the subtleties. So, in my opinion, that's a good thing. But you guys feel free to not be so nitpicky, right? Like, if this is just for fun, if you don't care about your stuff performing to that, like, extra last couple of percent, I'm very jealous of that. You're probably having way more fun than I am. But I've kind of built a career around being nitpicky, so... William Loesch said... No, we got that. Simon says... I've snipped a tiny bit of the underpeg disc on the Newbie Drone V3. Very cool. That's touching the USB just a tiny bit. But it's now not touching, just soldered into USB and don't want to redo. Some people have done that same thing so that the pegs don't put the little lines in the batteries. You can barely see them. I don't bother, but yeah, the wonderful world of customization. There's no wrong answers. OCDFPV says most pilots don't fly enough to be able to differentiate the shift in CG. Agreed. That doesn't mean that us noticing something doesn't mean that it's not helping. Right? Latency is a perfect example of that. If we save 2 or 3 milliseconds of latency, you're not going to feel that. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't help. If you were about to crash into someone's face and the 3 milliseconds quicker latency allows you to just brush right by them, that's a big fat win. So yeah, as it's very easy to be like, oh, I can't notice the difference. Well, great. That either means that you're not good enough to notice the difference, or the difference is so subtle that human beings can't notice it. That's totally fine. The difference is still there. And yeah. Prop Junkie says, I always thought the weight of the plastic was enough to cover the difference in weight and leverage from the offset of the battery, but who knows? I don't think so. The lithium polymer is so dense and it's so heavy that I don't think that the weight of the plastic and the wire is enough to offset it. If you pull, next time you guys kill one of these batteries, I'm telling you, pull the plastic apart. You'll see it's just a big hollow area. I can't imagine. I mean, what we should do is figure out how to balance one of these batteries and measure. There we go. If I could somehow put, hold on. I feel like this is not all that accurate. My fingers are like fat, you know? Well, it's a good thing that it just fell there. That means that this is somewhat accurate. Hold on. We can do this real quick. Every time it falls is a good thing. I can't believe I had a bounce on the first try. There we go. So if I put a dot, all right, so I put that dot too far to this direction, just a little bit. Where's that tape measure at? Again, this is super inexact. This is so inexact that I'm going to use a tape measure that looks like this, just because if we're going to be inexact. So I put the dot a little bit too far this way, so I'm going to offset this. So the side of the battery that's all lithium is roughly 32 millimeters long. The side of the battery with the plastic, and I'm going to end it at the base of the BT 2.0. I'm not going to take the length of the BT 2.0 into consideration, is 30 millimeters. So this is longer than this in this extremely unscientific test. Can I do this a little bit better? Can I do this balancing thing with a set of tweezers maybe? Yeah, I can. This is tough. Yeah, it's almost impossible to do with the tweezers because I got to get it absolutely perfect. What does that mean? That means that this side is heavier. I'm sorry, that means that this side is lighter, I think, right? Because this was a longer distance than this. I don't know, man. Regardless, the batteries sit symmetrical front to back, so it doesn't actually matter. Although I think what that means is that if this is true, if that awful little test that I just did is right, and this more lithium laden side of the battery is lighter than this side of the battery, that's actually a good thing. That means that the CG, because these batteries all sit too far forward, and so, but in theory, this side of the battery is lighter. So that's a good thing. But it doesn't matter because the batteries push up against a part of the frame that is symmetrical. So YouTube's the thing again. VPro says Betaflight Lava is the same battery too, right? It is indeed. That's the other folded cell Gens Ace manufactured, identical to all of these battery. Hector P says, which VTX antenna would you choose for a long-range Acrobee BLV4? Most of the proper long-range pilots that I talk to fly TrueRC Singularity antennas. So the antenna that we've been suggesting forever is the exact right one. I have had a TrueRC Singularity antenna 1,400 feet straight up on a radio tower, and when I was going up and the PCB was between my goggles and the antenna, at 1,400 feet, I could barely see. The second that I turned this thing over to start the dive, where there was just air between the antenna and my goggles, the view became crystal clear, and that was on 25 milliwatts on this exact rig. So yeah, TrueRC Singularity is just God. It's such a great antenna. Hugo at TrueRC is a really cool guy. He's not a homophobic piece of garbage like the owner of the other antenna manufacturer. So yeah, TrueRC for life. 661 tagged me. He says that's the Meteor 65 Pro, different than the Betaflight 65 Pro. Okay, yeah. Again, all these frames were designed way before folded lipos existed. That is true. Other than this new crop of lightweight frames, the Weebleed Crown, the the Cockroach 65 V3, and the the Meteor 65 Air, those have all been designed since these folded cell batteries existed, but the crown frame uses the exact same geometry from what I can tell as the OG Meteor 65, as does the Meteor 65 Air, so they're still putting the battery in the exact same spot, and then the Cockroach frame is symmetrical. Well, they're all symmetrical, so it doesn't, yeah, that doesn't matter. They've done nothing, it seems, to try to get the battery centralized, unless they have, unless from this little CG test that we just did with the battery, maybe having the battery mounting be symmetrical, they from the get-go realized is the best way to get the center of gravity even. Hold on, we can kind of sort of test that. So here's the 65 frame. This frame has these handy little bits here. How can I hold on, let me just do this. Oh no, it is very, I can really easily tell that it is forward heavy. Right? Like, that's drastic. That's not even close to being balanced. What if I slide it back a little bit? It does kind of catch on the post. Let's see. I think it's still going to be front heavy. Yep, still a little bit front heavy. Like, that's pretty obvious. So yeah, they're still nose heavy, but like we talked about earlier, that's not a terrible thing. The front motors get more clean air, so them having a little bit more weight on them is not the end of the world. Most 5-inch rigs are subtly nose heavy. They're much easier to get the CG dialed because they're bigger and it's easier to pick that point that you balance them off of. Morton Upshot says, I used a Mobula 7 walk snail in iGal for a slide. For a slide disarm. Came from factory toilet tank. That was the only disadvantage I felt. Interesting. Mobula 7. Yeah, right. They come toilet tanks because of the wacky camera mount, I believe. OCDFPV says you can increase your roll rate in Betaflight to offset. You can increase your roll rate in Betaflight to offset the extra rate and a slight adjustment of the PID tune. So you wouldn't really want to do that. You definitely don't want to change your rates to offset extra weight, because the rates function off of rotational. Basically, the rate. So let's say you put your maximum rotational rate faster on roll than pitch. It is going to, the rates have nothing to do with the amount of acceleration. The acceleration is all based off of the PIDs. So what you would do there is the rate, the roll versus pitch, it would accelerate unless you've offset the PIDs as well. But let's say you haven't offset the PIDs and you've just offset the rates. The roll axis would accelerate at the same rate, but then it would keep accelerating to the faster roll rate. So it would have no effect. Changing the roll, toilet tanked versus front to back battery, changing your rates, it's not going to matter. Changing the PIDs is technically what you would want to do, because the PIDs function off of timing. So if you increase the roll PIDs more than the pitch PIDs, that's going to attack the... So when you move the sticks, you go off set point, because the rig is just solid, and then you move the stick, you're telling it to do something that it's currently not. It's currently static. How high the PIDs are how quickly it's going to try to adjust and get back on set point. So by boosting up the PIDs on whatever axis the battery is, not even the battery, just the weight, whichever axis you have more weight spread across, that's the axis that you want to boost the PIDs on. This is why I always tell you guys the 6th and 7th 5th and 6th sliders down that are pitch dependent. So why I always tell you guys to bump those up. Well, it's this way for you. Bump them up to like 1.1 or 1.2 because most rigs have a little bit more weight spread out on the pitch axis. So bumping those, and that's also why in Betaflight they give us the ability, they give us sliders to adjust the pitch axis specifically. They don't give us sliders to adjust the roll axis individually. You could pull the pitch, if you were going to toilet tank, you could pull the pitch sliders down. That would artificially boost the roll, but it would also boost the yaw. Yeah, it would also boost the yaw as well, because so then you could do what I showed you guys earlier and change your PID mode from roll pitch yaw to just roll pitch, and then you could adjust the yaw. Down the rabbit hole we go. It's a good thought, OCD. Simon says, your nitpickiness has helped me and many others get our tiny whoops dialed in to our own preferences perfectly. Keep nitpicking, bro. Also, I meant the tiny disc on the peg. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Thank you for the kind words, of course. Yeah. The little... Looks like I did that, too. Wait, no, I didn't do that. Newbie Drone did that. I'll be damned. Holy shit, look at that. So this is one of the prototype frames that they sent me. This is their new polycarbonate one. Oh, interesting. So this is, I believe, a production of the lighter weight one. And it does not have that flat spot in the peg. But when I look at this new, slightly heavier one in the clear plastic, look at that. I might have done that. But that looks manufactured in there, doesn't it? That does not have like jankiness of me doing it with pliers or flush cutters rather. So yeah, that's what he's talking about. So this frame is, oh, and look, yep, they did it in the rear where the hooks are for the Immortal T. So the cockroach frame is a little bit asymmetric because they gave you that little flat spot, which has the potential to foul on the USB. But on this Happy Model frame, it doesn't quite hit the USB. There's ever so slightly a fraction of a millimeter of clearance there. All right, we got to get some batteries in. Jesus, it's past 5 o'clock already. All right, hold on. Let me blast through chat, and then we got to get a couple of batteries in at least. Veritas Souza says, what is toilet tanking? It is running the battery left, right versus up, down. So I don't have to show you. It's running the battery left, right versus up, down. That's incredibly... it's different than upper decker. Oh, this... VRX isn't working again. Hold on. Ooh, the VRX isn't even showing up. Oh, Christ. It better not have died. One of these days it will die because I leave it plugged in 24/7. Hopefully today is not that day. Although I do have a second one of these. All right. Hopefully that has brought it back to life. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Huzzah. All right, yo, let's do a little bit of flying, and then we're going to shut this down. This is the Cockroach 65 V3 framed Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoop on the Tiny Whoop Moon Traveler 0702 32,000 kV motors. With a bunch of hair in it. Why is there so much hair in this? Did I crash this into... someone's fucking head? What happened here? I feel like I'm pulling hair out of this rig all stream. All right, here we go. And... come on. Get in there. There we go. Fa-fa-fa-fa. Fa-fart. All right. This AIO is on its way out. which is why it looks so bad right now. For some strange reason, as soon as I arm it, this weirdness goes away. Your guess is as good as mine. 661 says, so the rear is technically the bottom because when you accelerate, you fly upwards. What? I don't understand that at all. The rear is the rear, the bottom is the bottom. Ready? Watch this. Come on. Magically, the VTX is fine. It's almost like it needs to warm up a little bit. Oh boy. Which makes no sense. Hey, look at that crash recovery. That crash recovery just activated. This thing feels weird. Hold on, what's happening? The crash recovery activated really early. Why do the rates feel so... So shit! Rates feel very sensitive for some reason. Oh god. Oh boy. What did I even hit? What was that? Oh, I tried to go through it backwards a little bit there. Mega power loop! Didn't make it. Oh my god! Oh! I tried to go in between the cymbals and the toms. It just didn't work. Oh my god, why? Oh man, I am having a rough time today. Now I'm back behind the thing. Oh, come on now. What? Where the hell was I just now? Let's just relax for a second. No need to go so crazy. I'm feeling all weird with this rig for some strange reason. We can just do some basic stuff for a minute here. I don't think anybody will mind, I hope. Basic stuff lasts for about 4 seconds with me, and then I have to do big throws with zero throttle. It's just fun, man. Look, I put some lights down here to really highlight all the ugly wires. I really need to figure... I mean, this wire management setup I have is not bad. I have a bunch of Velcro straps going around the metal part of the desk here, but I wish there was a better way. I gotta figure something out. It's kind of cool. I don't hate it, lighting up the underside of the desk like this. Impossible power loop! Oh, wow. Kind of got it. Not really, but... Oh, we got in there. We got in there, goddammit. I didn't think there was a chance in hell of that happening. And on a very dead battery, too. All right. One down. Let's keep going here. Nope. This over here. That's where it goes. Same rig. And then we will fly the 702 36,000 kV rig next. Oh, God. Hello, friends. Oh, no. Don't do it. Yes. No. Yes. Wait, no. I meant to say no there. Oh. Yo, crash recovery is earning its fucking money right now. Oh, wow. That was a nasty hit. Knocked over a little felt tree. Oh my god. Rejected. This basement is busy, man. I have a lot of gates up. Oh, okay. And my reflexes suck. Okay. Oh boy. That's not great. Hey, he's back. There we go. Well, that went through, but we couldn't even see it. VTX is a little noisy. I wonder if I lost the antenna. Let me take a look. Is that antenna still plugged in? It is. It is. I think this AIO has just had it with me. This AIO is like, yo. I think this is the longest running Happy model F4 ELRS AIO that I've got, which would mean that this probably has somewhere between like 500 and 1,000 batteries through it. The fact that this thing still works is absurd. Oh, come on. Stop it! Leave me alone! See, all right. In that case right there, crash recovery screwed me pretty bad. Crash recovery was not finding center for some reason. It was like returning me to this orientation, like sideways like this, and it was just really screwing me up. Let's get a little mirror flip going. Hold on. Easy. Gentle. Oh, that was a good one! That was a good close mirror flip. I love those. Drop down through the cube, you jerk. Yay! Oh, that was only partially luck. Oh, you jerk. Oh, it's all gone. Yeah, see, that's another case where crash recovery really screwed me. But we've tested the whole crash recovery helpful versus less than helpful thing, and it definitely prevents more crashes than it causes. Ah! Why am I just barely nudging everything possible? Because I suck, that's why. Done. That was an awkward little thing I just tried to do. Nope, I didn't have it lined up. Oh! Not sure what part of the gate that went through. Let's try it again. Oh, now I know. Okay. No thought to the exit of that move. Just, you know, get it through the... What the fuck? What? How? How is it possible? What? 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 How? Oh. I get it. Now the battery's dead. Oh, that was kind of cool. Oh! Ooh, that's new. Hello. What about the other way? Nope. I realized earlier today if I put this blanket like this, I can crash into it and take back off. Oh god, that battery is going to be dead forever. Sorry. Let's get it right on the charger. Maybe it will not be all the way dead, but when you discharge them down that low, they're usually kind of done. Okay, we're gonna move over to the Weebly FPV crown framed 36,000 kV. No, we're not, because that's the walk snail rig. That's right. I have more of those motors coming for another analog setup. I do not have an analog setup on the big baller motors. All my analog setups are torn apart. Let's fly this one with the Newbie Drone BI camera. This ought to be torture. With the... What? Okay, no. I replaced the bell on this motor. This motor said 26,000 kV. I was like, I built a rig on 0702 26,000s. That's weird. No, I swapped the bell out on this stator. Basically the same kV motors. 32,500 kV from Weebly. Same motor manufacturer and everything. 500 kV. I don't think that they can wind the motors. I don't think that there are enough winds on these little motors to change the kV by 500. I could be wrong. I think that these motors are wound the same, and when you test the kV, it's maybe slightly higher than 32,000 rather. So Tiny Whoop chose to underspec it Weebly chose to very slightly overspec it. Doesn't matter. Insanely good motors. Oh, so this is the rig that I... This is the rig that I put the RPM values off on the right side of the screen. I'm not going to be able to watch those, but you guys can, which is really cool. And that makes me want to fly really fast! Oh god! That was a little desync there. I was pushing on it really hard though. Oh my god, that throw! Oh boy, with those numbers there, all I want to do is hammer this thing. Because I want you guys to tell me what kind of numbers you're what kind of numbers you're seeing. Oh god. Oh no. So this camera has a drastically different field of view, which is really tough for me to adjust to. Fuck you, everything! You scumbag! No! Wow, this is so hard to fly. I'm okay. Yeah, so that crash is a perfect example. The field of view is just so different. I thought I was gonna not hit that. This BI camera has a much wider field of view than what I'm used to, which is the RunCam Nano. I can't believe it fell down through there. I didn't think it was gonna make that. So yeah, everything is off. Good, great. No! That's not coming out. Fuck you. Yay! Ah! Ah! Oh my god. I feel like this rig is down on power a little bit too, but I don't know. With this fisheye effect, that's not a good thing to kind of guess. Woo boy! Man, it looks so different! Oh my god, you scumbag. Oh! Oh god! Oh god! That was only gonna last so long. Surprised it lasted as long as it did. Oh god, it desynced at the perfectly wrong time. I'm calling... That is not my fault. I would have been fine if it hadn't desynced. Wow, yeah, even like finding center is way different. Finding like level horizon, I should say, is way different with this camera. Man, that's cool. That is really cool to see how challenging that is from just a different field of view. Also, this is a different mount. This is the McStinky mount, and there's a little bit more up tilt. And up tilt has an awful lot to do with your accuracy flying. You really want to try to keep your up tilt the same. That's not really all that fun to fly. I'm gonna put that one down and go back to the other one for the last battery of the live stream. Brent Anderson says your flying is much entertaining. Cheers. Thank you, dude. VPro says, can you show your rates? My rates are 40, 770. And Betaflight actual rates are drastically better than all the other rates. So definitely use actual rates. 40, 770. The Expo is incredibly aggressive. Everybody that's ever flown my rates hates them. And yeah, for the most part, don't use other people's rates. Spend all of your time trying just change the rates like one thing at a time, and eventually you'll find the rate profile that perfectly matches your brain. Oh, I hit the bass drum, you son of a bitch! Woo! boy. It's like with these lightweight rigs and these high kV motors in like a small space, it's like I don't know. I really feel my age. Like I feel very 42 years old when I fly these things in the basement. Like what I wouldn't give to be 16 years old with this. Like, oh my god. That would just be the greatest shit in the world to have 16-year-old reflexes and fly these things around in a tight, gate-ridden space like this. Man, I fucking totally missed that power loop. Did you catch that? Mega power loop! Fail. Caught it, though. There it is. There it was. Drum set just get me over and over again. Leave me alone, yo. Ah! Ah! Hey, it hit my foot. Oh! Oh, no! Just trying to eat my pants. Ah! I hit the ceiling just barely. Oh, come on! What did I hit that time? Oh, you fuck! Oh, no! Ah! Oh, no, that's, yeah. Couldn't decide which way I wanted to go. Nope, 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 nope. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh! Threw myself out of it. I wanted to try to stay in it. Try to get it. Here we go. Ah! I threw myself out of it again. It's kind of cool looking that way, though. It's not what I want, though. I want to go up. Okay. Go. Oh, God, no. I didn't get it lined up right. And now the battery's a little too dead. 3.4 at hover is nowhere near enough. Hold on. I want to do that up and down dive. I only have one battery left. Perfect. Here we go. Real quick. Swap. And there we go. Cool. All right. I've managed to... Oh, no. That battery's on the charger. That's where it is. Wait. Let's get it off the charger. 3.8. Perfect. All right. Hopefully that battery is not hurt. It probably is, though. Not the last one. 2 batteries ago. Here we go. Nice fresh battery. Let's get this climb and dive done. Nope. Ow! Oh, wait. I wanted to check the yaw thing. Ready? Let's see. So if I go hard, like full stick yaw... Yeah, I guess mine doesn't really jump up much. Although... Yeah, no, it doesn't. Although I don't push straight sideways into yaw. I kind of pull the stick down a little bit to offset the yaw jump. Which is another way to fix that problem. Stop it. Leave me alone. That's what I want, but then it's so busy. It's so busy to try to like make it look cool. And then spin it around like that and get it out of the damn tunnel. Don't you fucking dare. Thank you. Oh, God. Well, it's crash recovery. Got the assist on that one. Fuck! It is so difficult to do. I feel like I was good at doing this move at one point, and then I just stopped doing it. And now I've gotten much worse. I'm also trying to do it, like, with a full throttle stab, like, really dramatic. Hey, you shit. Leave me alone. Let me go. Oh! Oh! Oh, what if I get out of there backwards? That might actually be easier. The rotation is really hard, because you got to get an absolute perfect 180 rotation to get out the front. What if I... so then, the problem with getting out of it backwards is... Ah! That's not as shitty looking as I thought. I thought it would be stupid looking because you pitch forward and then you pitch right back. So you just undo everything you did. But I don't hate it. Stop! Stop! Stop hitting things! That's it, my friends. Thanks for coming. Thanks for doing all the things. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Suck it, Trebek. Be good, my friends. I'll see you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. January 21st. Tomorrow night's not a giveaway. Oh, I forgot to do the newbie drone giveaways. We're doing newbie drone giveaways tomorrow night. We're also doing a t-shirt giveaway tomorrow night, thanks to Frank Nicholas. So, yeah, come on back tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern, and we will have some more fun together. Cool? That sounds weird. Don't make it weird, bro. Don't make it weird. I don't know what we'll do tomorrow night. There is a Discord channel called Name the Stream. If there's a live stream topic that you want to see me do, drop it in there. Or if you have... I'm still looking for a really good alliteration-heavy name for the live streams that we're going to do, looking at other pilots flying and kind of like tearing them apart, trying to fly like them. Something like Moocher Monday is I think the best suggestion I've seen so far. So that's a good place for that as well. Over on Discord, it's a Discord channel that's open to everyone. You don't have to be a patron, and it's called Name the Stream. So jump on in there. If there's a specific stream that you want to see, it's a topic that you want to see, drop it in there. Or if you have a cool name for the stream that we did with looking at SR13 FPVs flying, I would love that. Cool? Be good, friends. I'll bring Teddy on tomorrow night. Northern Tier wants to see Teddy fly. Be good. Here comes some more flying from 2019 in a really cool spot with my buddy Joshua Bodwell. Somebody called him Joshua Bodwell one day, and it just made me fucking laugh. Here we go. Wait, no, this file already played. Let's go back to this file. Here we go, friends. I love you. Bye-bye. Be good to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. Go to therapy. It'll make your life so much better, I swear. Be good. See ya! Oh, I clicked the wrong thing.
All the time, I'm feeling lonely when you're here by my side. I just want something from you that feels right. But I know nothing will do, not this time. You tell me that you care for me, but I don't think it's true. You say I know you got, but baby, all you got is you. You promise me you're everything, but never see it through. I don't think you truly love me. If you did, you wouldn't hurt me.
wanted it to slide to the right.